come out wherever you are. Remember the game of hide and seek, where once you were done looking and you couldn't find people, and you tagged a few, but there's a few people that just were so good at hiding, you just where they at? Where they at? At the end of the game, just all right, come out wherever you are. The game is over. Stop hiding. At what point does humanity say to God or the gods, come out wherever you are. We're tired of looking. We went over here. What is there's a verse in the Bible where David supposedly says, where can I go from your presence? If I ascend to the heavens, you're there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you're there. Like, here we are looking for God and can't find him. Thought we found him, was ecstatic, and then realized, oh shoot, that wasn't it. Come out wherever you are. Tonight we're going to just talk about the hiding gods, and where do gods hide? I want to shine some light on the places where gods hide. But before we get further into much of that, come on to the chat, greet somebody in Reason's name. Let me know if the mic is sounding all right, because I will make some adjustments if I need to. What's happening, folks? What's happening, folks? While you're here, make sure you hit the little subscribe if you're not subscribed. Shout out to all the Patreon supporters, everybody on this list. Hey, love y'all. Thank you so much for showing your love. I know times are getting tougher. I got people hitting me up left and right. I don't understand it. Like, just asking for help because it's just hard right now. So I know times are hard. So if you've been supporting Ichabod, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for standing with the channel. Love you guys. And if you're not a supporter, subscriber, Patreon supporter, most of all, I'll drop the link for the Patreon underneath the video, or just go to the channel and look up on the channel. You'll see how to become a Patreon supporter. But what's up? Hey, Eddie, Daryl Williams, salutations. Without faith, so glad you're here. Let's think. Let's do that. Saran Lada, what's happening? Yeah, so drop a little note, say what's happening, and let's get ready to talk about where do gods hide. So a few weeks ago, I did a debate with the Christian apologist, Eric Hernandez. And in this, it wasn't a debate, it was a discussion, but of course we disagreed, so it had debate vibes. Towards the end of the discussion, though, I made a comment about him employing a God of the gaps fallacy. And I said, just as humans in our history, there's a ton of things that we always, we attribute it to the work of a God. But upon further investigation, as we develop tools to investigate our world further, we found out, oh, wait, I can explain this by natural phenomena, not having to appeal to a God. And shocked me because he was like, no, I don't think that's true. I don't think there's this long list of things that we used to attribute to God and then found out, oh, it's not God. And I'm like, I was gobsmacked. I'm like, I mean, we could run the list down, right? Everything from the weather, storms, this is the God of Thor, was the God of thunder. The Yahweh in the Bible is, there's all kinds of signs and evidence to point to Yahweh was originally a storm deity. And that storm deity was elevated to the high God. And Yahweh replaced El in the pantheon of gods, and then the other gods got demoted. Yahweh got elevated, and they became his divine counsel. But Yahweh was a storm god. There are passages in the Hebrew Bible where it's spoken as if humans not only don't know, but could never know how storms develop. In Job 38, God asks Job, Do you know where the storehouses are for the snow and for the hail? Like God is flexing his divine muscle, saying, "You don't even know where the storehouses are, that where I keep the snow at." Like, now you can say, no, that was just poetry, or well, in that time they didn't know. But it wasn't run like one day y'all will find out. It was ran like, humans, this is out of your domain. You'll never know this. Only a God would know where the snow is. I got a whole warehouse full of snow over here. Like Bill Gates has people in Amazon working around. I got angels working around the clock in my storehouses and my warehouses making snow. um, Also in Job, God asked Job, like, do you know where the home of light and darkness is? I say this all the time because I don't think many people realize this. In the Hebrew Bible, in certain books of the Bible, Genesis 1 in particular, in Job as well, they don't know that sunlight and daylight are the same thing. They think daylight has its own source and no one down here knows what it is. And then the sun was created. This is why in Genesis 1, daylight is made first, not generic light, not just starlight, not just like the light that shot out in the Big Bang. No, daylight was created first on day 1, and then on day 4 the sun was made. I don't think this is just a thumbing our noses at Ra, the sun god. I think this is evidence that they did not know the difference between, or they thought there was a difference between daylight and sunlight. And in the book of Job, God asked Job, do you know where the home of light and darkness is? Had Job responded, yeah, the sun, or its absence, the biblical community would have laughed at Job for having that intelligent of an answer. There are all kinds of things that we did not know the sources. And so in times past, God did that. Diseases, illness, they had no concept of germ theory. They had no idea what bacteria were. There was none of that. If somebody was sick, if somebody was ill, it was divine. The cause was divine and the solution needed to be divine. Natural disasters, earthquakes, volcanoes, like all kinds of things, celestial activity when stars are shooting across the sky. Oh, that's the sons of God are active. All these things that people had no way to explain in the past, but upon further investigation or developing tools to investigate further, we begin to realize, oh, wait. We don't necessarily need to invoke God to explain this. We can figure this out. And what I was saying to Eric Hernandez is God exists. God hides even in the gaps of our knowledge. Wherever those gaps are, you stick God in there, but he's still hidden. And whenever we find out a new explanation, God recedes and he goes and hides somewhere else. Origin of Species, right? Charles Darwin in 1850s starts looking at the development of one species of animal and how that could actually branch out into others. This is, wait, this might actually explain. But in Genesis, no, God made each kind separate according to their kind, and humans separate from that. So I'm just saying that to say there's a long list of things where we used to think we don't know the answer, we'll never know the answer. God must have done that. We find out the answers and God has to recede somewhere else. But this is where God's hide in our ignorance. I want somebody out there to just think about this. The things that you think you know, what you know about God is what humans don't know about life. All the things that we've learned about life, we've been able to say, oh, I don't necessarily have to appeal to God. The things that we don't know, that's where your God lives. God lives in our ignorance. God's hide in our ignorance. In the Bible, you know where they placed God? The safest place you could place God in that day and age, above the clouds, because they could never fathom that we would, like, what are you going to do? Climb the highest mountain? That's why Moses had to go up into the, why did Moses have to go into the mountains? Why couldn't God have just come down and envelop Moses in a thick cloud and everybody had to back up like, whoa, I can't. No, he had to go up into the mountains. Why? Because that's where they thought God was. And that's where the religious leaders helped people think God was, because how are y'all going to find out? We're going to go up to the highest mountains to see him, but you can't go up there. And he's not even in the highest mountains. That's just the meeting place. God's really on the other side of this dome. So you put God up there because you think we'll never get there. We'll never be able to. When I hide stuff from my nephew, if I put something on top of the refrigerator, I can rest assured he'll never find it. It's up there. Well, that's where they put God, up there. They had no clue. They told stories about people building towers and getting close enough to make God get paranoid. The God in the Bible is laughable. He gets paranoid because, oh shit, they're building a tower. They're of one mind. Nothing will be impossible for them. God didn't say the air is going to get so thin that they might pass out. No, the concern was they knocking on our door. They are knocking on heaven's door. We got to go down and confuse the languages, because give them another week or two and shit, they moving in. There goes the neighborhood. The humans are here. They put God on top of the refrigerator. They put God as high as they could because they thought, okay, he'll be out of reach. They had no idea that we would reach there one day. So God's got to move again. We joked about this on my Facebook page. God had to move to the third heaven because somehow they built pyramids. What else they're going to build? They'll be able to figure this thing out. And this is not God speaking, and this is the religious leaders. People are one day going to figure out that what we're calling heaven, God's domain, one day they're going to realize he's not there. We got to come up with a third heaven. So you hide God where you don't think people are going to be able to reach him. You hide God in human ignorance. That's a problem. That's one of the telltale signs that this is man-made, because they're always putting God where they don't think you'll be able to reach him. And they want to keep you ignorant enough so that you don't start asking certain questions and realize, wait, if I get the answers, if I start looking into evolution, I might find out that where they hid God back in Genesis 1 and 2, he's not there. I gotta search somewhere else. So where is God hiding? God hides in not just the sky dome. God, I think somebody above in the comments, somebody said, behind the blood of Jesus. Where is God hiding? I'm curious for you, because I had somebody challenge me yesterday. Are you still at least searching for God? Okay, you don't think God is in the Christian Bible. You don't think God is in the church. Are you still at least searching for God? Are you open to finding God? And I'm curious to know from you. You can throw your answers in the chat or in the comments if you're not watching live. Have you given up the search for God? If so, why? Or if you're still like, this is not the kind of place where you can't still be searching. I had somebody ask me the other day, they said, hey, can I come and tell my life after faith story? And I'm like, are you really after? Have you got to the after faith part yet? Have you given up on faith as a means to truth? Because if you're still searching, I would never say this is not the place for you. Everybody is welcome here, but you wouldn't be able to tell your life after faith story because you haven't got to that point yet. You still think faith is a viable pathway to truth. If I were to find God, it would not be via faith. I don't trust faith as a way to get to God, because if we're going to use faith to verify God, you can use faith to verify any God. Somebody can say, oh, well, look at all these contradictions in this holy book. Look at all these outrageous things in the Quran. But if I just have faith, maybe I don't understand it correctly. That doesn't rule the holy book out. If I can just use faith to to smooth over the inconsistency or the contradictions or the immoral stuff. Faith can get you out of a lot of jams. So I can't use faith to get to God. If I'm going to get to God, it's going to have to be because God has revealed himself in a way that I cannot deny. And I'm going to need some third-party attestation. I like the movie Beautiful Mind, right? At the end, Russell Crowe's seeing people that aren't there. And he's talking to somebody, and his imaginary friend shows up. And now that he knows this guy's imaginary, Russell Crowe turns to somebody else and says, wait, can you see this guy? Because if you can't see him, then I'm justified in thinking that this might just be in my head, because I know I've done that before. I've created people in my mind before. So even if a God were to show up and me and the God had a blast, I want to go back and check the video. Like, I want the cameras rolling. I want somebody else there. Like, yo, do you see him too? I can't have just a private experience, because God could be hiding in my mind. Like, it could be my mind manifesting it. Come out wherever you are. This is the longest game of hide and seek. And this is one of the craziest things. You know, they say, if you're looking for something, it's always in the last place you looked. You think about it, like, no, it's true. It will always be in the last place you look, because once you find it, you won't have to look anywhere else. So just by virtue of the fact that you found it, oh, that was the last place you looked. So it's always going to be in the last place you look. Well, where's the last place I need to look for God where I can find him and say, okay, I don't need to look anymore? Because you can be a Christian and convert to Judaism. You could be a Jew and convert to Islam. You could be Islam and convert to Christianity. You can think you found him. You could be one kind of Christian and transfer to another kind. What's the last place to look for God where you can say, found him? Or if you found him by faith, you don't know that you found him yet. All you know is that you're journeying. You're on a journey, and maybe you're on the right track, but you haven't quite found him yet. And so you can't say you found him. You can just say, I'm getting closer. I think I understand him now. But Paul said, right? We see dimly as through a glass. I think I understand him now, but who knows? I might have an experience in a couple of years where I might experience loss or love or heartache or financial difficulty or success or some kind of experience that will make me see it all differently. And I'll think I've found him again in a whole new way. How do you know when you found him? How do we know that God is not just the name that we've been giving to our ignorance, to our sense of wonder, to our sense of oneness? Like, God could just be the name we're giving to all of these emotions. Another place God hides is not just in the heavens or these unreachable places that they thought we'd never get to. God hides in our psychology. God hides in our physiology sometimes. There are things that we don't know about how the body works. And we feel certain things. We feel certain butterflies in our stomach, a sense of rapture, a sense of wonder, a sense of gratitude. And we'll think, oh, that's where God was hiding. When I felt these things, I found him. Y'all know me. I started taking edibles, just a little over a year or so ago. And when I take edibles, I feel things I've never felt before. I feel these vibrations. I feel these, and I feel like my mind is traveling, and I look forward to feeling those feelings. But what I would never do is feel those feelings and say, that was God. Because I understand that there's a connection, whatever this connection is between how I'm able to take inventory of myself, right? What is consciousness? Me and Eric Hernandez talked about this. What is consciousness? He thinks consciousness is a property of the soul. I think consciousness is whatever the chemical reactions are that cause us to be alert to external things, at some point begin to take inventory and survey the internal world. That's consciousness. And the fact that we've developed this ability to be as cognizant and as aware of our internal state as we are of the external world, that's amazing. But what I'm not going to do is say, aha, must be God. No, I say life is amazing. I don't know how or why it is the way it is. And I have a sense of gratitude about that. But it's not gratitude to something out there. I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson say something um, the other day. He said, it's not just that I am in the universe. No, the universe is in me. Like the stardust, the molecules, the elements of the universe have found a way to reconfigure themselves into what I am now. That is amazing. But I don't need a God to wonder at that. I'm sorry, I've got to go back and read your comments. Searching, are you still searching for God? Are you open to it? Let me see what y'all said. Truxton said, I gave up the search. I gave up the search. It's their turn to find me if they exist. I love that. I love that. There's a verse in the Bible, Acts 17. Paul's on Mars Hill, and he says to these philosophers, the God who made the heavens and the earth, the God who made from one man all the nations, he placed each person where they would be in the world and when they would be. Like God decided the times and the place where you would be. And then he says God did that so that each person would reach out and search for God and find him, though he's not far from each of us. So it puts the onus on us to seek and search and find God. But I love that. Truxton said, I gave up the search. It's their turn to find me. Imagine, I opened this talking about playing hide and seek back when you were a kid. Imagine if you always had to be the seeker. Like, no, sometimes it's fun to no, let me go hide now. You got to find me. I don't want to have to be the one. I can't always be it. I can't always be the one running around trying to tag people. Y'all got to tag me. And I know I just merged two childhood games into one, but I've been searching for you. And I thought I found, and I figured I was wrong. And no, now it's your turn to come find me. The period between 2015 and 2021, I ran. I hid from God. I didn't think I was hiding. I thought I was hiding in plain sight. But I was like, surely if you're real, you'd be able to find me. I'm going to go do me, and I'm going to see what you do. Because I was searching for you, and I don't like how you hide. Like, I don't like this game. I'm going to go play. I'm going to go hide, and let's see what you do now. I ain't seen him since. I remember when my nephew was young, in my house, we were playing hide and seek, and we were in one room, and he was covering his eyes and counting, and I took my shoes off so he couldn't hear me stepping on the hardwood floor, and I slid into the other room, and I got these long windows in my front room. So I got these long curtains. And so I slid into the other room, and I went and I hid behind the curtains, and I stood up against the window nice and still. I had the curtain in front of me. Now, if you had looked down like towards my shin, you'd be able to see my jogging pants, my socks on the floor, my feet on the floor. But the curtain went all the way down past my knee. So he came, and he was looking all around, and I could hear him getting like frustrated, and he's looking all like, where did he went to the door that goes out to the enclosed porch. He looked out there, and I can hear his frustration growing. And I'm sitting here, I'm behind the curtain, dying, like, oh my. But at some point, I'm like, this isn't fun for him anymore. I can hear the frustration in him. I can hear the anger in him. And I moved the curtain back, and I'm laughing just to let him know, like, it's all good. He never fell for that again. Whenever we played hide and seek, the curtain was the first place he looked. But imagine if I'm hiding from my nephew and I hear him fussing, I hear the anger, I hear him turning stuff over, then I start hearing him cry, and I never come out. And then hours go by, And he's there alone. And now he's getting hungry. Uncle Brady, I'm hungry. Uncle Brady. And then he don't know how to make no food. So and I stay behind the curtain. What kind of uncle, what kind of caregiver would I have to be to stay hidden while he's losing it? And then to stay hidden to the point where his life is in danger because now he can't eat. He don't know how to bathe himself. He might go to the front door and maybe he's outside. He might go out into date, and I stay behind the curtain just laughing oh, he thinks I'm outside. Now he's in the street. What kind of uncle would I be to let my nephew just go searching all over the world and I stay behind the curtain? This is not just the God of the Bible. This is any God who your search for him is as dire and as simple as whatever the religion is you grew up in, that's the God you find. That's the game we're playing? Because the Christian will go across the ocean to tell somebody else, no, you got the wrong God. And then those people, when they come across the ocean, they'll tell you, no, you got the wrong God. And God's behind the curtain the whole time, behind the veil. What, laughing? What is he doing? Hey, Eddie said, even if God showed up on a fiery chariot, I wouldn't worship it. Blank him. I hear you. John Perry said, you can never know a God because you never seen one. Talked to one, felt one, had a romantic relationship with it. It is all in the mind or minds of people. And this is one of the hard things about identity. Even if a God were to show up and say, hey, I'm God, you don't know that that's God. This could be an angel. This could be an alien. This could be one of many gods. You would never know. You would never know. This is how relationships work. You just have to be in a relationship with people. And I just saw a story the other day about a man who was arrested for a crime, sentenced, then never reported for his sentencing. This was a black man who got arrested for a crime that he did commit in the 70s, was sentenced to something like, I don't know, 30 years or something like that. No, 13 years or something like that. He never reported for prison. And somehow they never came to take him to prison. This dude changed his name, got married, had kids, had grandkids, and then finally was like, damn, this is crazy. I probably need to tell somebody that I never served my prison sentence. And by the time he had served his prison sentence, well, not served his prison sentence, by the time they figured out, oh, this dude never served the sentence, it was but he reformed himself. He what are we going to do putting him in jail for that? But he had become somebody else. But whoever he had become to his wife and his kids, that's who they knew him as. They didn't know him as the guy who had committed whatever the crime was. But if a being was to show up and do the things that we think a God does, love us, provide for us, bring peace, and tell us, y'all have a name in your language for being like me, somebody who brings peace and love and da da da. Y'all call it God. I'm God. I'm God. And then let's say centuries go by. We've been calling this being God, and it's been doing the God stuff. And then after 4 centuries, it's I'm really an alien, but y'all just, would it matter at that point if no God ever showed up, but this thing was there doing the things that we think a God does? Or let's say a real God did show up 10 centuries later. No, why'd you worship that? I'm the God. Could you blame us? If a God showed up, we would not know that that God is God. We wouldn't know that it's omnipresent because we're not omnipresent. Imagine a God pops up. Hey, I'm God. No, you're not. Yes, I am. I'm omnipresent. Let me see. And then we try to, if we had to try to go everywhere the God is just to make sure, yep, you was everywhere. We can't do it. We could never verify its omnipresence. We can never verify its omnipotence. We can never verify its omniscience because maybe there are things that we don't know that it doesn't know. We just have to take the being's word for it. Because, like you said, we've never seen a God to be able to say, yep, you're that. It's the problem of identity. We wouldn't know that it was a God. We just accept it for being whatever it was going to be in our midst. And we develop whatever relationship we could develop with that being. I don't know if many religious people ever think about these things, the difficulty of knowing that you could know you're dealing with a very powerful being. You would not know that it has all power. All you would know is that it's got enough power to do what it just did. So you would never know that it's God. You would never know that it has the omnis. It would have to give you the omnis just so that you could verify that it had the omnis. One more before I finish what I was trying to say here. Hey, Eddie said, I searched all my life. I even thought I found him. Many of us did. We thought we had found God. Yeah. What else was I going to say? Because I'm about to wrap this up. So other places, God's hide. God's hide, not just in the heavens where we can't go, at least they thought we couldn't get there. God's hide in sanctuaries. There are verses in the Bible where God is in the sanctuaries, but you can't go in, only the priest can go in. And he's got this incense and it's smoke, and it's thick darkness and clouds, and you can create these kind of aesthetics and then tell somebody, oh, that was God, or God's behind that veil. But you always hide the gods behind veils. Another place you hide God is in stories. If you hide God in story, that means God is always in two places. Some stories are about the past. Other stories are about the future. So if you ask the religious person who's got a holy book, where's God? They're going to go to the book. He's back there. He was active. And in the future, he's going to do some other stuff, but he's never now. God is never now. But you hide him in these places because you can't go to the past and dig him up. And you can't go to the far future. Those are safe places to hide God. God is safe wherever humanity cannot touch. And if you can touch it, they're going to move God and put him somewhere else. He's in the past, he's in the future. I'm not going to say everything I have here. I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. I think one of the problems is, for me, if ignorance is God's locale, if human ignorance is God's locale, I cannot worship such a being, because I have to remain ignorant to give the God the credit that the religion tells me he deserves. And I don't want to remain ignorant. I choose to know things, to learn things, to embrace things, to build upon that knowledge. And if God can't come along for that ride, if I say, come out wherever you are, and he never comes out, I'm not my nephew. I'm not going to run around the house continuing to look for somebody who may be hiding in plain sight. But you're not going to pull the veil back and say, here I am. I'm going to go live my life. I only get one of these as far as I know. And I'm not going to tuck myself away. Just because you're hiding, I'm not going to hide from my own desires. I'm not going to hide from my own inquiry. I'm not going to hide from my own owning and the responsibility for my life. I'm going to come out of hiding if you're not, and I'm going to live my life. And so these are just some of the places where they hide gods, where gods might be hidden. Am I still open to finding God? I'm open to being found by God if a God is there, like Truxton said. I think it was Truxton that said that. If the God is there and he wants to come find me, you know where I'm at. But if you don't come out, I'm left to think we were wrong. Like God was, I always say this, I think God was an ancient hypothesis that never panned out. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with developing new hypotheses and testing them and seeing where we land. All right, that's all I'm going to do for this evening. I'm going to be back on New Year's Day. So Thursday evening, I'll be back to do a New Year's Day show. And I got a lot of good stuff planned for next year. Gerald Williams said, Bible God is the perfect description. Exactly. He's in the book. He's in the book. Close the book and you've closed God's mouth. I don't see any super chats. So that being said, y'all go have a great evening. Once again, thank you to all of the Patreon supporters. I'm going to put the link in the description of the video where you can go and check us out. Hope you guys have a great, great new year. Hope you had a great holiday, even if it wasn't a holy day. But yeah. All right, y'all. Much love. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.